Hi everyone, I'm Nicholas from Hillgrove Secondary School. So today I'll be sharing about how do I leverage on the key application of technology used in Quizizz, the lesson mode, to support learning. So this is an overview of my slides today. I'll be first highlighting about the key application of technology used in Quizizz, some functions of Quizizz, and how do I apply certain functions for a chemistry lesson. And next, I'll be sharing about my personal opinion on the affordances and limitation of Quizizz, the free version, as compared to other free versions of other platforms that I used previously. And lastly, I'll be concluding the slides with questions for us to think about. So the two main key applications of technology used in Quizizz will be the scaffolding and assessment for learning. So for the scaffolding, I'll be using the slide function to guide the students to learn a certain concepts, give them a questions. After that, I'll use the slides to review the answer with them. So for the assessment for learning, there are various questions that we can use to test the student understanding in class. So some functions of Quizizz that I use will be the random name pickle. So I can pick a student at random without them complaining about how come I'm always being picked to answer certain questions. So this is very fair for all of them. And you can also activate the live whiteboard functions, whereby we can allow the participants to draw on it. And we can also annotate certain key points we want to highlight in the class, like this. So if you want to learn more about Quizizz and how to create it, you can always refer to Gary's video, this link here. So now I'll be demonstrating how do I use some Quizizz functions for chemistry lesson. So this is an instruction given to my student to draw an electronic structure of covalent substance. So I'll be using the slides as a scaffold for my student to learn first before I test them out. So this is one example of a scaffolding slides for them to learn. Then I will pose the questions to them to draw a similar substance. So on their slides, this is what it will look like. So they can draw and submit. So for best experience, if they have an iPad and Apple Pencil, we can ask them to use it so that they can draw it out smoothly. So after they have submitted their answers, then I will review the answers with them using the slides. So for Quizizz, right, there are various questions that we can use. For example, multiple choice, the drawing function that we see just now, the polling functions, fill in the blanks, and even free response questions to assess the student understanding in class. So for the polling functions, right, the advantage is that we can set a limited number of it in the multiple choice questions. So for the fill in the blanks part, we can preset the answers for the Quizizz to help us mark, like this. And lastly, the multiple choice questions, we can put up to 5 options. So after they have go through a series of questions, then they can learn the certain concepts. So my personal opinion on the affordances and limitation of Quizizz for the lesson mode will be some food for thought for you to consider whenever you want to select certain ICT tools to create lessons. So these are the things that I consider whenever I want to select certain ICT tools for a lesson. So I consider about the type of questions that I can use. So if I compare it to Kahoot, there are more modes of questions that are available in the free version of Quizizz. The only limitations for Quizizz will be the audio and video functions are only available in the paid version of Quizizz. So the next thing I consider is that am I able to create multiple lessons with the same platforms so that my first students will be familiar with it. So if I compare it to Nearpod has a limited size when I want to create lessons with the free version. But for Quizizz, I can create unlimited number of it. So for Nearpod, right, it has more functions as compared to Quizizz. And for Nearpod, I can add in questions in the middle of the lesson, but Quizizz cannot. So the next question I think about will be, if I want to create a survey, right? For Quizizz, I can create unlimited number of MCQ questions. But if I want to create surveys with different form of questions, I would like to use a Mentimeter. But the thing to take note will be that Mentimeter has a limited number of questions to set, to pose, if I use the free version. And lastly, am I able to share my quizzes or lessons with other colleagues or students if they want to use it? For Quizizz, I can share the link with them. But if I want to allow them to use or edit a Quizizz lesson mode, they have to have this paid version. So one way to work around this, right, will be to create a generic Quizizz account for the department. And the teachers can use this same account to create lessons with one another, share, modify, improve on it, and collaborate with one another. But the main thing that we cannot edit the assignment at the same time. So why do I select Quizizz? So for me, I can create unlimited number of lessons with it so that my students can be familiarized with this platform as a learning routine. And if I want to use existing slide, right, I can always convert it to PDF, upload it, and add questions in between the Quizizz slides. And most of the functions that I need to use, right, is available on Quizizz free version. And lastly, I can review the response script submitted by my students. So something for us to think about will be, when we select or use a certain ICT tools, are we able to rationalize the reasons why we select them? Like for example, why do we select these tools rather than the rest? And how will it benefit our students to learn better than pen and paper? So by knowing the rationale of our choices, right, we can streamline our sense-making process of selecting an ICT tools when more of them are emerging rapidly in this current time. So I have come to the end of my presentation. So I hope that you have learned some new insights and continue to share with one another. Thank you.